Hello again, this is Earl Silverman, Editor-in-Chief of the Journal of Rheumatology. I'm highlighting a paper of particular interest to our readership that will be published in the October 2021 edition of the journal. The article I picked for my interview is entitled "Current Smoking Negatively Affects the Response to Methotrexate in Rheumatoid Arthritis in a Dose-Responsive Way Independently of Concomitant Prednisone Therapy." The article is by Doctors Safy-Khan, Laar, Welsing, Laar, and Jacobs from the University of Medical Center of Utrecht, the Netherlands, and it is on behalf of the Society of Rheumatology Research Utrecht. This paper is available on our website at jrheum.org for viewing, as well as an accompanying editorial to this paper entitled "Smoking and Methotrexate in Efficacy in Rheumatoid Arthritis. What about the underlying molecular mechanisms?" It's by Drs. Janssen, de Groot, and de Jong from Amsterdam University Medical Center, Amsterdam, the Netherlands. And now I'm pleased to be speaking with three people today. This is new for me. They are Drs. Mary Safy-Khan, Dr. Paco Welsing, and Dr. Johannes Jacobs. I want to thank all three of you for taking the time to speak to me and to our listeners about how smoking negatively affects the response to methotrexate in patients with rheumatoid arthritis. Your paper uses the CAMERA 2 trial cohort to examine this issue of the effect of smoking on the efficacy of methotrexate in RA. I think it's probably important to briefly review the study cohort for our audience.
Yes, thank you, Earl. In the CAMERA 2 trial, over 200 early and DMARD-naive RA patients were randomized to one of two step-up double-blind DMARD strategies. One initiating MTX and placebo prednisone, and the other initiating MTX and 10 milligrams prednisone. A tight control strategy was followed with MTX dosing increments at monthly visits, aiming for remission. If still no remission was achieved at 4 weeks, after achieving the maximum MTX dosage and switching from oral to subcutaneous administrations, adalimumab was added. Prednisone or placebo was given daily in a stable dose for 24 months. The strategy initiating MTX and prednisone was clearly superior over the strategy initiating MTX and placebo prednisone.
Thank you. And now that we understand the cohort, what the study is, could you please summarize the findings of your study?
Yes, definitely. In this cohort, current smoking was significantly associated with a higher DAS28 compared to non-smoking, with a mean difference of 0.6 to non-smokers. This negative effect was not statistically significantly different between the strategy group initiating MTX and placebo prednisone and the group initiating MTX and 10 milligrams of prednisone. The negative effect of current smoking on DAS28 was dose-dependent, and our conclusion is that current smoking in early RA patients significantly reduces the clinical effects of these MTX-based strategies, independently whether or not concomitant prednisone is used.
Thank you. Now, do you wish to hypothesize why smoking didn't have an effect in the response to prednisone? Because as you know, other studies, your study, other studies by others have shown that smoking does affect the response not only to methotrexate, but to rituximab and anti-TNF therapy.
Yes, definitely. Well, we did not directly show that smoking did not have an effect on prednisone. on the response to prednisone, but the reduced efficacy induced by current smoking was not statistically significant between the group initiating MTX and the group using MTX and prednisone. This indeed might indicate that the effects of prednisone was not statistically significantly differently influenced by current smoking. And the fact that prednisone, in contrast to methotrexate and biologicals, decreases RA activity in multiple and very different ways, genomic, non-genomic, cellular, humoral, which cannot all be negatively influenced by smoking, might be an explanation for this.
Thank you. I know it was just pure guessing, pure hypothesis, but I like to put people on the spot. So my last question is about table 2 in the results section. You proposed 2 models of examining smoking as a predictor of the changes in DAS28. One where smoking was just a yes-no categorical outcome. Another was an ordinal outcome where we examined 4 different levels of smoking by cigarettes per day. But in these tables, as I was looking at it, you mentioned other factors that influence the response to methotrexate. And could you please elucidate on that?
Yes, I can do that. Indeed, we evaluated a set of other possible predictors of disease activity over time or response to treatment in these 2 models. The same set, and the results were also very consistent between these 2 models. So first, the time variables that are in the models actually do represent the typical general course in disease activity after initiating treatment, with an initial swift decrease thereafter leveling off. And when looking at the other variables, we see that the addition of prednisone to an MTX-based treat-to-target treatment strategy lowers the average DAS28 over time with about 0.6 DAS28 units. So that's showing the effectiveness of the addition of prednisone to this strategy, actually with the same amount about as smoking does negatively affect disease activity. Furthermore, the disease activity at baseline we looked at, and so before initiating treatment, and as expected, this was also related to the average disease activity over time thereafter, with a higher baseline thus resulting in higher levels of disease activity over time. And further, independent of this, we showed in the models that females had on average a higher disease activity, and patients with a higher BMI also had a moderately higher average disease activity over time in these treatment strategies, as has been found before, actually. So,
thank you. It's always nice when you're looking at other factors that it validates other studies. It makes everybody's data much, much more robust. So it's always, I always see that as a nice thing to happen. So examining that really wasn't your primary outcome. So that's all my questions. Any further comments by anybody that I might have missed asking, or you think is important for the audience to know about your paper?
Yes, Earl, if I may. An important clinical message is that, of course, smoking is bad, but we should realize it is even more harmful for RA patients. Smoking not only reduces the effect of DMARD strategies, as shown again in our study, but smoking also increases the risk of cardiovascular disease. And the cardiovascular risk is already increased independently by RA and other chronic inflammatory conditions, probably by ongoing endothelial inflammation. In our view, assessment of smoking should be part of an outpatient visit, and rheumatologists should make efforts to get patients with chronic inflammatory conditions to quit smoking.
Absolutely.
And with clinician, after all.
Absolutely. It'd be very interesting. This is completely off what we said. is as time goes on and younger people move up, whether we'll see a similar effect with vaping and what that is going to do to all of this. It's going to be very interesting, whole new field of interest. Hopefully people will stop smoking, especially in countries that we think of as being developed. So, well, thank you very much. And I really want to thank Drs. Mary Safy-Khan, Paco Welsing, and Johannes Jacobs for taking the time to speak with me and highlighting another detrimental effect of smoking. And as mentioned by Dr. Jacobs, in addition to the cardiovascular problems, which are already increased in RA patients. To our viewers, please read the full-length article, Current Smoking Negatively Affects the Response to Methotrexate in Rheumatoid Arthritis in a dose-dependent responsive way, independently of concomitant prednisone use, by Drs. Safy-Khan, Laar, Welsing, Laar, and Jacobs, and the accompanying editorial, Smoking and Methotrexate in Efficacy in Rheumatoid Arthritis. What about Underlying Molecular Mechanisms, by Drs. Janssen, Dorot, and Dion. And these are available at jroom.org. And we'd love to hear comments about this and other articles at Twitter at jroom or by email manuscripts@jroom.com. And I want to thank you for joining us and I hope you'll be back next month. I want to speak to one of the author, in this case, authors of the article of particular interest that I've selected for November.